It's not just spin or glide to say Art Venegas is one of the world's premier throwing coaches, building a dynasty in the circle that continues to this day. From his alma mater at Cal State Northridge to UCLA, Venegas has successfully thrown his weight around at every stop along his legendary journey. Venegas arrived in Westwood as an assistant in 1982, and the Bruins have been a juggernaut in the throws ever since. 28 years owning the ring, and then more after that. With Venegas at the helm, UCLA's dominance in the throws included 33 NCAA titles, 67 conference crowns, more than 175 All-American certificates, and there was at least one Bruin on top of the podium at the NCAA Indoor or Outdoor Championships in all but 4 years between 1990 and 2002. Pretty heavy stuff. Moreover, the school's throwers scored at every NCAA championship from 1983 through the end of Venegas' tenure with the program in 2009. Under Venegas' tutelage, John Godina won 5 NCAA titles and has held the collegiate shot put record for almost 3 decades. Discus thrower Celala Sua is the only female athlete in the history of the Division I Outdoor Championships to win 4 consecutive titles in the same throwing event. Today, Venegas' legacy endures as many of his former athletes continued their championship and record-breaking careers as coaches themselves. And tonight, Art Venegas' legacy is honored with induction into the USTFCCCA's Coaches Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Well, they're making it tough on me with all that excitement and the great Leroy Burrell trying to make me into a decent, wonderful person. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble here. Thank you all for being here, and I want to recognize my family who came here to see me get this wonderful award. First of all, my beautiful wife, Marlene Venegas. And met her in college, been married 45 years, and dated her for 5 till my father-in-law said, "You're wearing out the furniture, time to get married," so I did. She is just the reason I'm in coaching, because there was no money. As you know, most of us don't get any money at the beginning, and I turned down more lucrative avenues, and I got an $800 a year deal at Cal State Northridge, my alma mater, to coach. And I didn't turn it down, and I've never looked back. Best decision I ever made. So I am, the booklet says I graduated from Long Beach State. I did not. I'm a Matador, Cal State Northridge, okay? Keep that in mind. My daughters went to Cal State Northridge. My wife went to Cal State Northridge, so we're Matadors through and through. So I'm so grateful, Marlene, for everything you've done for me, and the way she worked to make sure that I could eventually get a full-time job, that I could do this. Next, I want to acknowledge my beautiful daughter, Jessica. She's a wonderful mother and a wife, and best of all, the greatest daughters. I have 2 wonderful daughters. Thank you, Jessica, for being here tonight. I adore you. My grandchildren, 11-year-old Jonathan and 8-year-old Josh, they're here, and they were wondering, look at my picture, they call me Guppy. They said, "Guppy, you got really old. What happened in those pictures?" So I'll explain to them later about that. My son-in-law, Jason, and he, has been a wonderful, wonderful addition to our family, and he's such a good person and a joy to be with. My brother Manuel, Dr. Manuel Venegas, He's a world-renowned chemist and also he had a very high position with Procter & Gamble, just recently retired. And I've always gone to these kind of dinners for him. So, good, Manuel. See, the darker ones in the family, we call him Güero, the light one. I'm the Prieto, the dark one. So now he comes to see me get an award. Thank you, Manuel. And the last person at my table is my dear mother, Maria Teresa. Anything that I ever did for you guys where you thought, God, he's mean, God, he's tough, but also loving, that's my mama. 96 years old, made the trip from LA. Gracias, gracias, mamacita, por todo tu amor. Y los también. But she took care of me, always made sure that I understood there were consequences and also rewards. And that's the way I taught my athletes. Not at the table. My youngest daughter has a serious knee injury she's recovering from, Yvette, and my oldest grandchild, Lisette. And I am so proud of them, along with my son-in-law, Willie, and they're watching this through the YouTube telecast. I hope it's going through. So thank God for that. Now I want to talk about my first hero that's no longer here with me, and that's my father, Manuel Sr. My athletes know that all the weird, crazy stuff I've always told them, inappropriate and weird, it's my daddy. He really taught me well. He was a funny guy. What a sense of humor. And why he's my hero, he was a very successful man in Mexico, and he went bankrupt, came back to the US. He had gone to high school in Los Angeles. I didn't even know my dad spoke English, he was an American. But my dad sold ice cream after having been a manager for American Tobacco Company and John Deere. He was here in the States now selling ice cream and being a busboy. And he was in his late 80s. I said, damn, you really taught me a lesson about, because then we start getting full of ourselves and we don't realize the sacrifice. And I always told my athletes that I don't give a damn about any medals. You better be good parents. You better be good workers. And that's what I emphasize to them to this day. You know, also my in-laws who have passed away, Gerardo and Carmen. So that's my inner circle, and I'm glad I was able to thank him. I also have some people that made my job extremely difficult in that they were great coaches. And you can't be great or good at anything unless you have great competition. So I want to shout out to Dave Woolman, John Smith at Southern Illinois at the time, Larry Judge, Dan Lang at USC, Mark Colligan, our dear Mark Colligan who passed away at Nebraska, Brian Bedard, Robert Weir, Scott Bennett, Mike Sargent, and a few I might have forgotten. But these guys, they would wipe the table with me if I didn't prepare my people properly. So thank you guys for that. Appreciate it. Now I'm discussing my coaching career. I was hired by my first coach was Frank Carl at CSUN. Cliff Abel at Northridge hired me, followed by Jim Bush at UCLA, and then my next boss was Bob Larson, who is here, and I owe him a debt of gratitude as well for being such a kind coach. Who else can put up with John Smith and Art Venegas and make us successful? He was great. He really knew how to play those pieces. I love all my athletes, and I'm going to speak about you guys now, not individually, but about what you all mean to me. You're all the same to me. I was turning and tossing. I was going to talk about individual. I said, no, we're just grains of sand, and we make a beautiful beach, and no one's better than the other. As people, I saw them yesterday get together. We got every kind of person, every kind of race, and every kind of attitude, and we were just loving every minute we spent together last night. Hope to continue this this evening. Interesting story about, I want you guys to understand what it would mean to me if you think of me that way. Some of you thought I was going to die yesterday. I took a shot of tequila. I don't drink. Went the wrong way, and I needed resuscitation. But first of all, I want to tell you a story about a guy that also is a hero this way, Ducky Drake, Elvin Ducky Drake, that Drake Stadium at UCLA is named after. Ducky, he coached, he had the stadium named after him. I got the job, and I see this little old man taping ankles and stuff. And I go, wow, this guy who's a legend wants to serve, and he's helping people without everybody, well, a lot of the kids not even knowing this was the legendary Coach Drake. And when he passed away, Rayford Johnson said at his eulogy, he said, only thing I think about in my life is what would Ducky have said? What would Ducky say? In other words, I want you guys, hopefully, to continue with that concept. I have people here that are multimillionaires. I got people here that are captains of industry. I got people here that have to struggle to make ends meet. But every one of them is a fighter. Every one of them wants to be the best person they can be. And remember this, we're the unique team here, people. Distance runners, sprinters, throwers. Where else do you find these combinations? It's amazing the way we get along, the way we do things. And I wanted to let you guys know that some people that I'm going to name very quickly, so I'm about out of time. Don Turnbull, thank you for putting all this together for me as far as, you know, getting my athletes back together. My dearest friend, Bob Lord, and my ultimate friend, Jim Bush. Jim Bush is my legend. He's the one, my beacon of light. And one of my athletes here and I, we held his hand as he was dying, and we communicated with him right before he passed away. I don't expect you guys to do that. It'd be kind of gross if you hold my hand, guys, but you know, think of me at least if that comes around. Jerry Harvey, Charlie Bogue, my people that influenced me in my lifting, Bob Tacano and Fred, Dr. Squad Hatfield. Of course, Bob Kersey and John Smith. I worked with their athletes for many years in conditioning. And then, of course, John Tansel at Glendale College. Bill Godina, who's here. I saw Bill Godina at the Olympic Training Center. He had Paralympians, and he was cracking the whip. And I said, yes, crack the whip on those Paralympians so they know what it's all about. And it was great, and they were enjoying it, okay? My ultimate thanks, and she made me love the sport again more than ever, Terry Crawford, for giving me the job at the Olympic Training Center, which is not mentioned here, but that was my final 8 years of coaching. And I had some wonderful Olympic-level athletes and world championship athletes. And, of course, Craig Poole, who's a wonderful human being. He was my head coach there at the Olympic Training Center. I want you all to remember, we're going to have a lot of different coaches coming up here now. I've hit my time limit, but I want to thank God and thank all of you for making this sport more than a sport, for transcending the day-to-day things about lifting weights or running, or, you know, make it your calling to make it a better world by doing the little details, the nuances that the sport gives you. And thank you all for being so kind and paying attention to this old Mexican. Thank you.